So just
Can
like
you hear me?
yes.
The favorite, my favorite sentence in this paragraph is after 3.1. It says, scientific theory can and almost surely will one day be replaced by another. Within the realm of this aspect, you could write volumes of dramas. It's the base, because with an understanding comes a politic, and with a politic you have these established territories, and with these territories you have people willing to fight, which is always a conflict is the it's the meat and potatoes of a really good story. So I'm curious to know, does this, or do you have a political mind? Or is this merely, are you giving the I don't even know if I would be using the correct word, a vanyana about your approach?
No, that's a beautiful question, Rami, because I will summarize this by saying that the secret of happiness, the secret to happiness of each individual mind is deliberate action. So this that I talk about, this abstract, subtle, ineffable, zero becoming one, one becoming zero, zero being one, one being zero, the aspectual side of reality, phenomena versus noumenon, and everything, I always take it down to the phenomenal reality. You and I, how we talk, how we cooperate, how we collaborate, how we build and create together. So to me, these conversations that are not taken to the political, I would say the hygienic side of reality, what I eat, how I eat, the exercise I do, how do I get along with you guys, how I pay my bills, how I work, how I live in society, the individual versus the collective. If I don't have this kind of trickle-down effect, then it's completely sterile. So yes, I have a political mind that applies these nonsensical, abstract, ineffable ramblings about the nature of reality into how do I live my life in the conventional sense, from the conventional perspective. So I'm very political. I have very strong, or at least I have very clear ideas what politics should be. I analyze very, very closely the social contract. There are three thinkers that talk about the social contract. Well, I'm going to be the fourth one. I see the very, very importance of the social contract, how the individual connects to the collective and how the collective connects to the individual. And I create a yin-yang in there. What is my responsibility, my civic responsibility as an individual towards the collective that I belong to, that I play in? You know, I'm in a game of soccer. I have to play by the rules, but also I'm a thinking player. So I could say, hey, this rule here is not right. We should change this rule to make the game better. So I think very, very deeply about my responsibility as an individual within the collective. And I see on the other side the liability of the collective, the responsibility of the collective towards the individual. How do we marry that? And how do we create a politics, a rule of the game where the collective gets better while the individual gets better within the collective? They both, grow and become better and happier. So yes, that your question is very important to me, because at the end of the day, talking about the quantum nature of reality and defining the soul as a degree of self-awareness of the aspectual side of reality, if we are not humanly happy and thriving and sharing and growing together, we don't have a culture. Culture is very important. If we don't understand that we are, you are me, I am you, we need to cooperate, collaborate, and build an environment that is sustainable and clean and pleasant, and that helps us thrive and grow and be happier. and be enlightened, all of us, then this is wasting time. I hope I didn't misunderstand your question.
We're on target.
Okay.
Thank you.
I believe. I was telling Ken before. I don't know if you heard my analogy, but I believe that knowledge has two aspects, just like reality has two aspects: the non-phenomenal and phenomenal. Knowledge has two aspects: the conventional knowledge. You and I talking about how we should plant tomatoes and what time of the year, and the non-conventional one, which is applying these ideas about the nature of reality, the soul, and et cetera, and combining those in a conciliant way to create growth and happiness. Sukha instead of dukkha, to go from dukkha, which is stress and suffering, to sukha, which is well-being, health, and growth, but sustainable growth, not ignorant growth. And that is the beauty of, at least in my view, of this kind of conversation. And that's what I would like to build. I have a website, www.trickledownwisdom.com, where I kind of throw at the reader this combination of conventional and non-conventional wisdom and knowledge. I talk about a transversal way of thinking, which combines both to the betterment of the individual and of humanity as a whole. That would be my school of thought. It's like, hey, let's build something beautiful at the combination. From the combination of conventional and transcendental knowledge.
Thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for Boltzmann.
Yeah, I found him a couple of days ago. I'm always looking for something interesting, and now I need to detach. I need to go, but I found this Zoom session extremely.
Let's do it again next weekend.
I'm so glad you.
Isn't it? The 4th of July.
Yes, I'm so glad you recorded this, Jairo, because many times, many conversations that I have.
Podcast.
I think this is a beautiful one to share out there, because we went from 0 to infinity. And we ended up in politics, or at least the idea of politics. What do we do with all this beautiful knowledge of the soul?
So next week it'll be on the politics of freedom.
I am, if I can, I think I'm gonna, if you can copy me or give me the link to it, I'm gonna post it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn is one of those where I try to, I have quite a few contacts in Europe. In Spain, because that's where I come from, and there's a lot of suffering out there now with the pandemic and the economy, and a lot of people suffering and trying to find out what the hell is going on. And if you don't mind, I would like to share this very long Zoom conversation on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. I could turn this conversation into a podcast, and I'll send you the link of this episode.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, I would like to put it on trickledownwisdom.com. Also, for whoever may want to know what the trickling down of transcendental wisdom to the human level and how it works. And this is all this conversation was about.
Trickle down wisdom sounds so elitist. Maybe you need a guru. Maybe you need a Luis Del Pino guru to receive it.
At the end of the day, the knowledge of reality regarding itself is very subtle. It just doesn't happen really easy. And that's why I think that although enlightenment or auto enlightenment, like instantaneous enlightenment is possible, I find it very improbable, because you have to put a lot of things together in order for reality to see itself in its splendor, in its infinity and eternity. And that is too abstract for at least to consider that like a feeling of the oceanic feeling and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can have those feelings, but the true moment of reality seeing itself perfectly through cognition, logic, science, and the feelings that come with it, because of course enlightenment is very pleasant. Nirvana or nibbana is very pleasant, is sukha, but it comes with a lot of intricate abstract notions that I don't believe that happen like that very easily at the human consciousness level. That's my take on that. Enlightenment takes work. That's what I say.
In the
Well, you see, what I look at it as enlightenment, you know, enlightenment. I look at it more as enlightenment, enlightenment.
enlightenment.
In other words, what you're describing is as being able to not be understood is if you take again that approaching it through the aspects instead of the one. Of course, it's going to take time. Of course, it's going to be difficult to understand. Of course, it might take lifetime after lifetime after lifetime to get to a certain level of understanding.
Yes.
Whereas if you take and focus on the one, which is the Atma, we focus on the soul and merging with the soul and having the direct experience, everything that you described becomes answered in one fell swoop.
The Atma,
Yes.
the Atma is Luis Del Pino's reality, seeing, being able to use our tools to see itself.
What I agree with
Yeah.
you, Ken. The problem that I see there is that Brahman cannot understand itself but through Atman. And Atman is typically very ignorant. If you look at the Paticca Samuppada, I'm sure you have read it.
The individual Atma.
Yeah, each individual consciousness has to grow out of something. You don't have a baby that comes out like a freaking Einstein or a Boltzmann. It just doesn't happen. There's no instantaneous conventional knowledge. And because transcendental knowledge is built upon conventional knowledge, I cannot see the going from the bottom of the Maslow's pyramid to the top of it, which is self-transcendence or self-unification of reality with itself, happening in an automatic way.
Well, it can if you see the top and the bottom as one.
Yes, it can.
As one, you see?
Potentially.
So there is no gap between the two. If you understand,
there is no gap.
everything-
Essentially, there is no gap. You're absolutely right, Ken. But there is no gap. But the no gap has to be somehow put together with a gap, which is conventional self-awareness, conventional
That's again approaching
consciousness.
through the mind. That's again approaching everything through the mind.
What the thing is, we can hypothesize that reality could possibly know itself without an instrument, but I don't see it, and because we don't see it, maybe it's a hypothesis that is possible, but we cannot realize, potentialize, or actualize, and that means that the probability of it is very, very small. Like there may be a unicorn on the other side of the moon, possibly, but the probability of that is infinitely small. So what I say is that automatic or instantaneous enlightenment of reality, seeing itself clearly without its other side, because that what you're saying there is that the non-phenomenal side of reality can know itself. And then in that sense, we are disagreeing on what knowledge, conventional knowledge is or transcendental knowledge is. Because then you're making a distinction, a separation between not being and being. The non-phenomenal.
Only the mind, but see, it's only the mind that makes that distinction. It's not the self. What you're talking about is it's only the mind that creates that distinction and that separateness, the illusion of separateness. You see, the thing is, my experience when I was in India, and Jairo knows the Mahatma Fakir Anandji initiated me into what they call the Apara Vidya. He opened the third eye. And when I talk about the practical experience of the Atma, that's what I had. and
How
I
come you
understood.
didn't have that experience of a third eye before?
Huh? Excuse me, say it again.
How come you did not have that experience of a third eye before?
Because my karmas were not ready or resolved in order for me to be able to receive that knowledge. In other words, if I had received that knowledge before, it would have meant nothing. It would have been something like a fad and just taken and gotten away.
So what you're saying is that if reality was able to open its own third eye without karma, it would not understand what it was talking about, because it would not understand karma. So it would be like, what the hell is this?
Well, one thing the thing was what I understood is at that moment that the I, when we talked, remember when I asked you, when you say I, me, who are you talking about?
Yeah,
I understood that the I was not here or not this body. I understood that the I was the soul.
That is correct.
And no understanding was necessary, because everything that you were looking for, I understood in that moment, I already had.
But if you hadn't not understood before, you would not understand what you were understanding then. So what we are, I think we're going to agree on this, is that although possibly reality could know itself directly and go, it is it, and this is it thinking, it takes a non-knowledge, an ignorance, in order to understand full understanding. Because you cannot separate understanding and non-understanding, because if you do, then you don't know what it is to understand. And that's why I believe that there's a certain connection between ignorance and enlightenment, and it cannot be understood separately, because one doesn't make sense without the other. So again, if reality were able to feel itself directly, but did not understand what it felt like before feeling itself directly, it would not know what it's experiencing. So,
well, see, my experience was, when you're addressing exactly what you're saying, it wasn't an understanding that came upon me.
it was a being. It was an experience.
It was a lifting of a veil.
Yeah,
and then that understanding was already there. I no longer had to search.
But if you, at the moment of being a superconductor, where reality sees itself without any veil, any spots, the lens is completely clear. Actually, there's no lens. Reality is a direct experience. It implies that in order to have this direct experience, it has to have the previous experience of not having that direct connection. It cannot separate one from the other. That's what I'm trying to hypothesize here. Because in the end, how do we know? How do we know what it is to feel without feeling? So,
well, you see, in the end, there is no end. That's the thing.
Of course.
There is no end. It goes on and on and on and on. So the understanding of that there is no end, to me, and I'm just talking about my own personal experience, to me, that's all I need. I don't need to try to understand this. I don't need to try to quantify that. I don't need to try to explain this, because I understand that it's infinite and goes on and on and on. So eventually, those who don't understand will come to understand.
What I am trying to, and I agree with you, there's no end, there's no beginning, so what's the point? The point is that if you don't know conventionally that there is no end and no beginning, in conventional terms, then you cannot somehow, that's what I postulate, reality is not able to be itself directly, like a tooth cannot bite itself. Let's put it that way. It needs another tooth to bite onto something. So the pure being is unaware of its own being. And if it was not through this going to this direct experience, it doesn't make any difference, because at the point where reality experiences itself directly, there is no knowing, there is no thinking, there is no nothing, there's direct experience. So it takes a little bit of 100% pure being in order to know, hey, I am being. See, that's what I'm trying to say.
I totally get what you're saying.
It takes a little bit of ignorance. It takes a little bit of ignorance to somehow intuit, because it's an intuition, It's not an understanding. It's a direct being of non-ignorance, which is panya, absolute wisdom. And so one cannot be without the other. That's what I'm saying. Now, how long that distance is between 0 and 1, how difficult it is to get to, that panya, that samadhi, that direct experience coming from a non-direct experience. I suspect that it takes lifetimes. Like they say, it takes lifetimes. It's always happening in a sense. So basically, each individual consciousness is a chance for reality to experience itself directly, but it does that one consciousness at a time. That means one ignorance at a time. That's my hypothesis, at least. And the fact that this consciousness is aware of that there is a direct experience of reality. The fact that this consciousness can say, I am the whole of reality, talking about itself right now, that carries a lot of weight. And without this mind thinking that, that very deep, direct experience would be lost because reality does not know. So I am the instrument through which reality is able to feel like I am every freaking thing and nothing at the same time. Isn't that beautiful? Reality cannot do that without this consciousness. And I am it thinking about itself. So the moment that I don't have an identity about myself, I know Atman is Brahman, Brahman is Atman. This is the whole thinking about itself with this very subtle abstraction. That's the beauty of it. The more you get, the closer you get to non-being, because that's the absolute being. Brahman is non-being. But the being is the aspect of Brahman. So the closer ignorance comes to non-being, so that, avidya becomes vidya, it becomes panya. Mm-hmm. That experience, the very point, the getting to the other shore, is that incredible sense of, oh my.
We're in total agreement. But I'm saying that journey that you described is going within towards yourself.
Yes,
that's the only thing I'm saying.
So how long it takes? Yeah, how long it takes to get to that point that's where I think that it takes time. It just doesn't happen like that. I mean, some people
that depends on karma. That depends on what your soul needs to go through and learn in order.
When you went to India. When you went to India and you were presented with those concepts, and all of a sudden, the light bulb went off. That was instantaneous. Mm-hmm. But there was a trip before that, where the light was not lit up.
No, and you see, that's what I learned. The only thing that changed was my perception. That it wasn't off and then it was on.
I know.
I realized that it was always on.
I know.
And the only thing that changed was my perception of that.
Yes.
And when I say perception, I'm talking about the mental perception.
Yes. But reality is always on.
Yeah, exactly.
The soul is always, but it doesn't know it.
Hmm?
It doesn't know it.
You see, because I say that the soul does know it. It's the mind that doesn't know it. And you see, and the thing is, the mind is a necessary tool.
All right, let's rephrase this. Let's rephrase it. The mind knows it if the mind knows it. The soul knows it if the mind knows it. So it goes together. The soul does not know unless its mind, because it's the mind of the soul, knows it. So it goes together. Because transcendentally, the soul does not know. The soul is, but it doesn't know it, and it's through the mind that it is able to discover itself. That's why you know yourself. You go in, know thyself. The reality is knowing itself through its own mind. But it needs the mind to know itself. And this mind has to change from very ignorant to extremely subtle and enlightened in order for the reality to become one. So we are talking about the same thing, absolutely. So it happens all the time, and it's been happening for infinity and eternity. This yin yang is eternal.
Yep.
So
I agree with that.
So so reality is it, but it doesn't know it. And every so often, like the turtle, coming out to breathe and putting the head through the buoy, I think that description is a little bit in my favor. That reality knows itself 100% only through a few little minds. That's what I think. Because if it were the case, then everybody around us would be enlightened. We could talk about this at Walmart, and everybody would understand what we're saying.
Everybody is enlightened. Like I said, the only difference is that the veil is down. They just don't know that they are enlightened. They just don't know that.
Let's put it this way: that if enlightenment is the soul itself, there's an identity, then it doesn't know that reality doesn't know itself clearly through every mind. So that's the thing. This every mind assumes that there's the work to be done. It just doesn't happen like that. There are billions of people, but reality only knows itself very clearly through a few minds. I think we can agree on that.
Oh, I don't disagree with anything you said. I'm just saying if that approach works for you, that's absolutely fine. Keep going.
It works for me.
Knock yourself out. Yeah, exactly.
Through this
mind,
reality is extremely happy.
Yeah. So that's like I said, like I said, I each their own. Any approach that resonates with you and you follow, no matter what that approach is. Like I gave the analogy of my friend who struggled with addiction, found Jesus, found the church, completely turned his life around. What's wrong with that? Nothing. That's it, because that's where he's supposed to be. So anyway, like I said, God bless you, knock yourself out. If that's how you want to see things and present it, and you can help people along their path, God bless you, more power to you. It's not about, that it's not about right or wrong. You see, it's not about which way is better, which way is that. It's like which way works. And that can only come down to where an individual is at, how I see it, karmically.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the aha moment I had was the fact that everything I've been looking for, I already had. I felt like Dorothy with the slippers at the end of Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home. Home being the Atma, home being the soul. You always had the way home, you see? So that's just the way I look at it and I see it and I present it. If that resonates with people, fine. If it doesn't, fine. That being said, brother, I really appreciate this talking. I'll see you next week. I got here. I got to go clean a Confederate cemetery.
Listen, guys, it was
coming,
very enjoyable. Thank you, everybody. Jairo, make sure that you share the link. And that you share the link so we can share it up there
and Rami
for Brahman to see.
It was good.
Thank you very much. I'm out of here.
See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
That was pretty good, Jairo. Good.
Yes.
Bunch of.
Yes, so you can check out the links in the chat.
I'm going to save the chat right now. And I will click on the last thing that you shared. Woo!
Right.
A lot of
still on.
Material to cover.
Now he's gone.
And you've put new things in, so this is wonderful. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, I created a little podcast, and I forgot how to log in my password. So I'll reset my password from the browser, but it's on my phone.
Okay, and I know you've got some material between May 31st and June 27.
Oh, I do?
You do, because you've been holding these almost every Saturday morning.
Oh yes, I should put this on the next Saturdays. I should put this on Central Florida's also. I put it on Buddhism for Happiness.
At least a link in the discussion area.
What time do you want to leave?
9:30.
Wow, it's 9:30.
I have to take my mother to an appointment. It was very good seeing your face and
thank you
part of this. Thank you
for
very
joining us for another Saturday morning live.
We wasted all that time.
Another 2 hours wasted.
Have a great rest of your day.
Come morning.
Bye.
It's not